A long dormant franchise returns. Is this a phoenix rising from the ashes or just a pale imitation? Let's find out. It's been over 26 years since Streets of Rage 3 was released on the Genesis, Mega Drive, whichever you prefer. However, the franchise has been remembered fondly and kept in the hearts and minds of many, with some help from many ports and translations, whatever you want to say, to basically anything that is capable of playing a video game, be it a computer, console, mobile device, you name it. You can probably find it. If you're looking to take a stab at beating up Mr. X, it's not at all hard to find a means to do so. Not just that, but a number of indie developers have made some games that you could possibly consider a spiritual successor of sorts. It's not quite as common as, say, the Metroidvania genre, but beat-em-ups are something that indie developers sure do seem to love. Indie developers are exactly who Sega handed off their much-loved classic franchise to. Much like the remake of Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap, Lizard Cube and Dot Emo have their hands in this one, along with another developer, Guard Crush, developers of the game Streets of Fury, whose gameplay engine was used for this game. Personally, I never thought story in a beat-em-up game was much of a big deal. Here, it's not all that different. Basically, it's been 10 years after Streets of Rage 3. Mr. X is gone, and his offspring, referred to as Mr. and Ms. Y, are the villains this time around, and the two are trying to take over the city by means of mind control. Axel and Blaze are back, this time joined by Cherry, Adam's teenage daughter, and Floyd, who was a student of Dr. Zan. These two fill similar roles to Zan and Skate in Streets of Rage 3, or Max and Skate in Streets 2. Both are pretty fun to play, but I find the guitar-swinging Cherry much more fun to play. Also, as you play the game, you'll be able to unlock a number of hidden characters, including the heroes as they appeared in the classic 16-bit games, which I think is pretty neat. Some tweaks have been made to the classic versions in order for them to play in this game, but other than the fact that they are pixel characters dropped into this game, the original characters don't feel too terribly out of place. Going back to those original games for a minute, people love the Streets of Rage series. Even Streets of Rage 3, which I think is a little bit polarizing, is still loved by quite a few. And basically, if they don't knock it out of the park, there's going to be people on the internet bound to just take a huge dump all over it. I'm sure you know that already. I mean, come on, this is the internet after all. I mean, just look at all the mixed opinions on those Star Wars sequels that they've made. You know what I'm talking about. The big thing which I think is going to be kind of polarizing about this game is probably going to be the visual style. They went with this hand-drawn comic book style for this, and I'm sure some people would have probably preferred a pixel art look if they would have made the game intentionally look 16-bit, but personally, I don't mind it so much. This is what Lizard Cube did with their Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap remake, so I'm guessing this is kind of Lizard Cube's thing to make it cartoony like this, and personally, I think that's cool. Even with the decidedly different approach to the visuals, I think the game is still pretty recognizable as Streets of Rage, and that's largely in part to the choice of the color scheme and the familiar character designs. Everybody still looks kind of the way you'd expect them to, but if you really miss that 16-bit art, you'll find bare-knuckle cabinets throughout the game, and if you hit them with a taser that you pick up on the ground or dropped from an adversary, you'll be transported to a series of bonus stages, which are quite familiar in style, scan lines and all. They're actually recreations to sections of Streets of Rage 2, and it is a very cool Easter egg, if you ask me. Another thing that's much beloved about the Streets of Rage series is its audio. The sound effects in this game, they're very much familiar to the Streets of Rage fan. Many of them are lifted right from Streets of Rage 2, as are some of the musical cues. Sadly, we do not have another full soundtrack from Yuzo Koshiro, but what we do have is a decent homage to the music of Streets of Rage 2 for the most part. Might not be anywhere as memorable, but if you heard it, you can probably guess what it's supposed to be. What is a game if it looks and sounds all good, but then it plays like utter crap? That would not be a good thing. But here, that's not something you're going to have to worry about. The gameplay, it does still feel like Streets of Rage, maybe a little faster paced at times. You'll notice that you'll be able to juggle enemies and corners and with certain attacks. You can follow up a diving attack with a standard jumping one while still in the air. One nice improvement to the control scheme here is that you have the option to have a control layout, which in addition to attack, jump, and special buttons, you have a button for items. This is actually the default setting, and with this, you have a button dedicated to picking up and putting down items. If you hold a direction with this button, it'll throw the items. I feel this is a nice touch, as many of these classic belt-scroller beat-em-up games, it was always mapped to the attack button, and you could always pick up a weapon or power up by mistake when you're going to fight somebody, and that was kind of annoying. Now this will lead me into the replay value of the game, and I feel that there might be a little bit more here than your average beat-em-up game, thanks to the unlockables and the Easter eggs, but once you find all that, if you're playing on Steam, Xbox, or PS4, and you want to grab the achievements or trophies, then what? Aside from doing a little multiplayer, there's really not too much else. I personally was left wanting a little bit more by this game, even after unlocking all the different characters. There are some reports of DLC coming on the horizon, and I'm definitely interested in that. Max is a boss in the game, under the influence of the enemy mind control, and then you set him free. Why isn't he a playable character in this game, or an unlockable? That would have made sense. Maybe that'll be in the DLC. Only time will tell there. Despite my thoughts on the lack of replay value, I still think this is a very strong game. I know some people are going to have polarizing thoughts on the lack of the full Yuzo Koshiro soundtrack or this visual style. Yeah, it looks comic booky and all, but I kind of dig that. And I still think the game is worthy of being called Streets of Rage 4. I think is a very strong title and a worthy addition to the franchise. I think you should pick it up. I picked it up. Hell, I actually bought it 3 times. I'm still waiting for my limited run games copy, but here is the merge games copy, and also the day it came out, I did buy it on Steam. Yes, bought it 3 times. I have a problem, but you know what they say, first step to recovery. Anyway, what do you think of Streets of Rage 4? Did you like it? Do you think it's worth being called a Streets of Rage? Love to hear what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, are there any classic games, franchises, whatever, you'd love to see revisited in any way possible? Be it like Streets of Rage 4. Actually, let's say, hell, anything you'd love to see get the Streets of Rage 4 treatment. Honestly, I think that Golden Axe would be pretty badass in this style. What do you think? Love to hear from you. Leave a comment down below. I know it's been a while. Hopefully I can get the ball rolling with this, and you'll be seeing much more of me in the near future. Till next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care.